Okay, hey you fans of 20th century popular culture. I'm in Burbank, California, and I'm a little bit north of the Warner Brothers studios, where the late great James Dean was a contract player and who sadly left us at 24 years, 8 months, and 22 days. Okay, what we have in front of us here is I want everybody to see this place, especially you fans of James Dean ephemera. Things that don't usually get recorded or talked about unless you're an aficionado of James Dean. Okay, I'm on Olive Avenue, and this is the former Lotus dealership run by a guy named Jay Chamberlain. He was running on in the same races that Jimmy was racing. At the first race that Jimmy did was at Palm Springs. He came in third place. That was March 26th. And then he raced May Day weekend at Bakersfield, California. He came in third. And then he blew a piston at Santa Barbara Memorial Day weekend. And Jay Chamberlain, he was racing there with him. He saw that he was having problems with his 356 Speedster, and he gave him a brochure of the new Lotus Mark IX that was coming out that year. And Jimmy also he had known about the Lotus because that June issue of 1955 and Road and Track magazine, Jimmy heard about the Lotus and how well it was doing, but it actually got swamped by the Spyder 550 at Sebring. But Johnny von Neumann at Competition Motors in Hollywood told him that he wouldn't be able to get a Spyder in until the late fall, and Jimmy knew that after he finished Giant, they had put a clause that he couldn't race until the movie was over. So he had Dick Clayton, his agent, come here to this Lotus dealership June 27th while Jimmy was in Marfa, Texas. And he put $50 down on the Lotus. Now, he told Dick Clayton to tell Jay Chamberlain here. He said, I'll take the Lotus, but I don't want the Coventry Climax engine. I want the Offenhauser, or rather the Offie engine, because Jimmy had been beaten at 2 races already with the racers driving MG Specials with Offie engine. So he knew that he wanted the famous Offenhauser engine installed when he received the Lotus Mark IX, when it would come in 8 weeks from June 27th. Well, when he got back July 12th, he was there five weeks and 2 days in Texas. Jay Chamberlain told him that they were having problems with production. It probably wouldn't come in till late fall. So he waited until late August, and then he ended up giving up and he canceled the order. And then September 18th, his friend Lou Bracker was driving past Competition Motors on Vine Street in Hollywood, and there was a brand new 550 that had come in. He called Jimmy, and then he went in there, he traded in his 356 Speedster, and they gave him $3,800, and then he came up with $3,000 cash from Warner Brothers. And but now I came here because it's one of the last extant spots relevant to Jimmy's life. Now, when Jimmy came back from Marfa, Texas, I'm pretty damn sure he came here to this Lotus dealership, and let me zoom in. Now, I want to say that when I was going to do this video 2 years ago, This place had been abandoned for like 20 years. In fact, it looked exactly the way it did in 1955. And that was not a stairwell. That was like a spiral staircase right there. And then they got rid of it, and then they got rid of the old-fashioned chandelier, and then they did this. These mechanics moved in, and as you can see, they still work on European cars. But like I said, I always get this feeling, and sure enough, when I'm ready to record these places, either somebody rips it down or refurbishes it. Now let me give you guys a shot of Burbank, California, and we're looking south here towards Warner Brothers Studios. Okay, now I'm pretty damn sure when Jimmy came back from Texas, he was probably coming to this Jay Chamberlain's, getting inside the Lotus Mark 9 that was probably in that showroom there. And he's probably bugging him. He was probably wondering, when's that Lotus gonna come in? And so I just wanted to record this for you fans like me that are really into James Dean ephemera. Thankfully, this place is still here in Burbank. And one of the last remaining places that Jimmy would have hung out at, probably talked to Jay Chamberlain on his lunch breaks from filming Rebel Without a Cause. He was actually filming Rebel Without a Cause from late March, right after he finished the March 26 races in Palm Springs. And then Nicholas Ray, his director, he allowed him to race at Mentor Field in Bakersfield, California. And then Memorial Day weekend, he was coming off filming Rebel Without a Cause, and he was allowed to race. I guess Warner Brothers, the executives didn't know he was racing, because when they found out, when he started Giant, they put a clause that he couldn't race. So like I said, he was waiting to get the Lotus, but Jay Chamberlain said it wasn't going to come in, and he didn't actually know when. It was a very iffy situation, and he knew that when Giant was gonna wrap, he wanted to start his races. He was actually ready to race Labor Day weekend at Santa Barbara, but he couldn't. And then finally, his friend Lou Bracker, he was driving down Vine Street in Hollywood, coming from he had just gone off work, he said, and then he saw a brand new 550 in the window of Competition Motors. He called Jimmy. Jimmy rushed over to Vine Street, and he traded in his Speedster 356 for $3,800, and then Warner Brothers advanced him $3,000. So I forgot to mention that he canceled the order with Jay Chamberlain here. He might have even come in here. And as you can see, most of the buildings are extant from that time period. So that's the way it would have looked when Jimmy was coming here, probably in his lunch breaks, like I said. And then he didn't have time to come in directly right after filming and wrapping Rebel Cause. The last few days before getting on the Sunset Limited to go to Marfa, Texas, he didn't have any, he had completely no time to even come here and to put the money down. And he was dubbing for Rebel Without a Cause. They were doing retakes, they were doing wardrobe for Giant. So he got on the train at Union Station in downtown, And that's why he sent Dick Clayton here, his agent, to put the money down on the Lotus Mark IX. Now this guy named Herb Jones, he was racing at Santa Barbara, and Jay Chamberlain, he was there, and when he saw that Jimmy had blew a piston, he gave him the brochure to this place, and the Mark IX, all the specs. But Jimmy also had found out about the Lotus at the same time, because it came out in Road and Track magazine, the June issue of 1955, and this guy named Herb Jones, he was driving a C Jaguar at Santa Barbara, and he said Jimmy was talking about buying the Lotus. And then there was another guy named John Porter. He was the only guy that Jimmy had raced against 3 times, and he was the only guy with a 550 Spyder. So that's when he first saw the Spyder at Santa Barbara. Well, when he really went and starts thinking, you know what, I want this car. This is the next level for me. Now, the difference in top speed in the Spyder was 140 miles per hour, and then the Lotus was 128 miles per hour top speed. But the Lotus was only 1,000 pounds, and the Spyder was 1,200 pounds. But like I said, when he had Dick Clayton order this car, Jay Chamberlain said we can put the Coventry Climax with the 1100 cc engine, or we can put an Offenhauser if Jimmy wants that, from Meyer Drake in LA, Los Angeles. And Jimmy he already knew that he had won. He had lost against the guys that won against him in the 3 previous races. They all had MG specials with Offenhauser engine, so he wanted the Offenhauser engine because it was a monoblock construction engine, and it was immune to blowing gaskets and engine stud problems, and it could handle high cylinder pressures, and it could handle the high cylinder pressures because the Offenhauser engine didn't have a separate cylinder head. It was all, like I said, a monoblock, what they called. So he was also aware, Jimmy was aware that the Offenhauser engine had already won 27 Indy 500 races. So okay, so like I said, he probably would have ended up with the Lotus Mark IX if Jay Chamberlain and Lotus in Bristol, England, I think, if they weren't having problems, he would have ended up coming here and picking up the Lotus right after wrapping that. I think that actually Giant ended up wrapping the day before he took off to Salinas, and that would have been September 29th, 1955. So okay, here you go, you fans. And Jimmy, good night, sweet prince, and I hope you're in a better place, and thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. Be seeing ya.